things that you need to know on NPV. NPV by itself is a capital budgeting technique that is used to evaluate potential projects that a company would like to undertake, just like I mentioned before. And based on the NPV rule, it says that if the net present value of a project is greater than 0, you should accept the project. And if it's less than 0, or if it's negative, you should reject the project. So this is something that is very important to keep in mind, because it will help you in understanding or making a decision based on our answer. Yeah, if you should reject the project or accept the project. So in just down here, if the NPV is greater than 0, you should accept the project, and if the NPV is less than 0, you reject the project. Next, we will be covering questions and answers, and I have a couple examples here that will believe that they will make these concepts much more understandable and easy to master. And as I mentioned before, I'll be showing you how to solve the questions using financial calculator, where I'll be using specifically the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus, and using Microsoft Excel to solve the question. So let's move right into it. If you would like, before that, if you would like a live session, like one-on-one session or online tutoring session, I highly recommend that you check out my website, which is bettytutors.com. You'll be able to message me there and have make your bookings in case you want more one-on-one sessions. I do it both online if you're anywhere in the world, or in person if you're living in Minnesota or Minneapolis. So yeah, let's get into the questions and answers and have fun with it, really. This is another example of net present value, where we need to figure out what is the NPV of the project. The question says that an investment of $100 generates after-tax cash flows of $40 in year 1, $80 in year 2, $120 in year 3. The required rate of return is 20%, and it's asking that the net present value would be closest to. So we do have these choices here, and we need to figure out the answer that is closest to our NPV. So just like in the previous example, I highly recommend that if you have a question like this, have a column where you indicate each year with its own respective cash flow. That way it makes it easier to visualize how much money are you receiving at this particular time, or how much money is the project generating at this particular time, and how much is going out. So in this case, we do have 0, 1, 2, year 2, and year 3, which is the last year. For year 1, because it says that an investment of $100. So this company is spending $100 upfront at year 0 in order to get these cash inflows in the future. So because it's an initial investment, and we said before that an initial investment is a cash outflow, it is spent at the beginning of the project. So that would be negative 100. And then at year 1, we do have cash after tax cash flows of 40. So we do have 40 here. Don't worry, I'll change them into dollars. And then we have 80, and for year 3, we do have 120. So all these are in dollars. I'm going to change that into currency and then decrease the decimal places. So as you can see, we have negative 100 at year 0, 40 here, 80, and 120. The rate is also given because we'll need that in our NPV calculation. So just look for a different cell or whatever. You can choose to put the rate in any cell, and we'll have the rate here. Let me move it a little bit. We have the rate as 20%. So type in 20, and we're looking for the NPV, or the net present value. So the net present value here, just like in when you're using manual formula to calculate the NPV, it is the sum of the present values of all future cash inflows plus the initial investment, which you know that the initial investment is a negative cash flow or a cash outflow. So we are basically following the same concept, and because we're using Excel spreadsheet here, we want the NPV function to work without an error, start with an equal sign. So as you can see, we have an equal sign there. And then NPV, start typing NPV, and the function will be here. We have the rate, click on the cell that has rate, which is our 20%. That is our discount rate. For the values, we are finding first the present value of, or the net present value of all these cash inflows. So you don't select the year zero initial investment amount. No. In the NPV function, we only have the rate, which is 20%, because this is the discount rate that we're using to find the present value of all the cash flows after year zero, because we are bringing them back to year zero in form of like a present value. Yeah. So the NPV here, we do have all these cells selected, which is for year 1, 2, 3, plus the negative 100. Negative 100 is just added here directly because it is already in its present value form, so we don't need to discount it by 20%. That's why we're adding it there, and then just enter. And as you can see, we do have $58. That is as a whole number. However, you can increase the decimal places by clicking here, and you can see now that it is 58.33 as our answer. I'd just like to highlight my answer. So we do have the NPV as 58.33, which is choice B. So choice B is the correct answer for this question. And then how to do it with the financial calculator is the next thing that we're covering. So we have the investment of $100, and we have after-tax cash flows of different amounts per year. We're using the cash flow button, as you can see here, or the cash flow key. You want to make sure that you clear the previous calculations first before you input the new ones. So as I mentioned before, key in the cash flow, and then second, and then clear work. So you want to make sure that it's CFO is 000 before you input anything. As we have $100 as the initial investment, we'll be inputting 100 negative, because that's the amount of cash outflow that the company is spending on this investment. And then after you do the negative 100, enter. Scroll down. Cash flow 1 is $40. So input 40, enter, scroll down. Because we only have 140, and it's not recurring consecutively, so we won't just assume the F01 because that is the frequency. So frequency is just 1 because 40 is occurring just one time. Cash flow 2 is 80, so 80, enter, scroll down. Frequency is still 1 because we have just $80 at year 2. And then year 3, which is cash flow 3, we have 120. So input 120 there, enter, scroll down. Frequency 3 is 1 because we only have 120 at year 3. Scroll down again. So until you see the next cash flow where we don't have any other thing to input, that's when you key in the NPV button right here. So the button NPV. So yeah, NPV. Then the next thing that appears is the interest rate. So the interest rate, as you can see, it says that the required return is 20%. So you'll input 20. Where after you see I, you just input 20 here. Enter. Scroll down, and until you see NPV equals 0.000, that's when you key in the compute button here, and you see the NPV is 58.333, and we are getting the same answer, which is B, 58.33. So that's it.